want to analyze rent rolls and profit and loss statements. We're not trying to fool ourselves. We want to know the good, the bad, and the ugly.
So, talk to me a little bit about due diligence, what that means, number one, in case some of our listeners may not know what due diligence means, but due diligence in multifamily and purchasing a self storage facility.
For sure. So, due diligence generally is all the analysis that we're going to do from the time we have a property under contract until closing. And sometimes that due diligence starts even before we have the property under contract. So, once we determine it's an investment that, at least at a high level, looks like it could be a fruitful endeavor and one that we'd like to pursue further, and assuming that we get it under contract, we'll start the process of both economic, physical, and even environmental due diligence. So, on the economic side, we really want to dive into the owner's financials. So we want to analyze rent rolls and profit and loss statements. We want to do our best, especially in the multifamily world, to tie every single lease to a unit and do our own unit audit. On the physical side, of course, we want to do a site visit ourselves. We want our property managers to walk the property. And then, of course, we want a professional inspector to inspect the property and provide an opinion on it as well. And then on the environmental side, this is something I think a lot of folks may overlook. It's very important, especially on some larger commercial properties, to at least consider doing a phase one environmental study. And usually, knock on wood, the phase one comes back clean and there won't be any issues with proceeding with property. But one of the really nice things about getting a phase one, and it's really not all that expensive on a relative basis, is it provides the purchasing entity some liability protection in the event that there was any missed environmental issues. So having that phase one in your entity name is a really valuable piece of due diligence that I think is sometimes overlooked, because sometimes lenders might conduct just a desktop environmental study and provide a clean bill of health to the property. But without a phase one, you as the owner don't have any liability protection.
Got it. So, what's all involved in a phase one environmental study?
So you're basically hiring an engineering company to do an enhanced desktop study of the property. So they'll look at the property history, surrounding properties. Was there any gas stations nearby? Were there any oil spills or whatnot on land? They might do a site visit as well and do some testing. And then they'll provide you with a report that has recommendations in it. And if there are troubling things in the history of the property, they'll recommend a phase two environmental study, which is a lot more in depth, a lot more expensive, involves a lot more on-site testing. But if the phase one comes back clean, that's going to provide you as the owner or the prospective owner a whole lot of liability protection in the future.
Got it. I wasn't aware of that. Currently, don't do it on smaller multifamilies. Would you recommend doing that on a smaller multifamily, like an 8 unit or a 10 unit?
Possibly, depending on the purchase price. I'd say that's right on the cusp of where most people feel comfortable paying for phase one. Probably costs somewhere in the neighborhood of $2,000 or so. So it really just depends on your purchase price, your business plan, how long you're looking to hold it for, what type of neighborhood it's located in, and just your risk tolerance generally. And especially if you're taking on investors, that's another wrinkle as well. You obviously want to be more cautious if you are taking on money that's not just your own.
How does the due diligence period differ in self storage? So you're buying an existing self storage facility. I can't imagine there's much to look at, but talk to us about the due diligence surrounding a current self storage facility.
Yeah, for sure. On the economic side, it's fairly similar because we're talking about a lot of the same financial reports. We want to do a lot of the same audits to ensure that the information that we're reviewing is accurate. From an environmental standpoint, it's also fairly similar because it's the same type of phase one study. So I'd say the major differences lie in that physical due diligence and who it is that you want to visit the site. So in the self-storage world, as we alluded to earlier, there's just generally a bit less maintenance just by the nature of how these facilities are usually built. I mean, unless it's climate controlled, we're talking mainly four walls and a roof, and there's usually no mechanicals, no bathrooms. Sometimes there's not even electricity. So it really just depends. But we always want a professional on site to at least assess facilities condition. We want somebody to assess the roof, the doors. That's something that we could do a high level assessment on. We could have contractors come out as well if we know the doors are in rough shape and we want to plan ahead to replace, call it 50% of the doors. But either way, we want professionals there. We want people who do this on a daily basis to provide their opinions on the property, because this is our chance to find out as much information as we can about the property. And we're not trying to fool ourselves. We want to know the good, the bad, and the ugly. $2,000 per month for those three spaces. We focus solely on two asset classes. That's multifamily and self-storage.
Jacqueline and Melvin, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day to listen to this episode of Get Diversified. Please make sure to subscribe to our podcast so you don't miss out on future episodes. Finally, stop by our website and follow us on social media. Ciao for now. Make it a great day, and we'll see you next time. And remember, get diversified.